Ray, maybe you can share with us, how does knowing God help you to navigate the problems of work?
I think when I'm being true to my calling as a disciple of Jesus in lots of ways, and when I'm not, perhaps in not so many ways. So the lots of ways could be, it fits my work into a bigger story, this love and service that Andrew was talking about. It gives a moral compass to my work. It gives my work becomes a mission field. So I think there's lots of ways. Something that I've been thinking about a bit recently is in terms of my identity. So as a Christian, my identity is as a child of Christ rather than as a barrister or a worker. And I think that helps me navigate the highs and the lows. So as a barrister, I'm self-employed, and I find that the highs can be pretty high. You get a win in court, or one of your invoices gets paid, or a few of them get paid. And the lows can be pretty low as well. So you have a tough day with a judge or a magistrate or a difficult client, and these things can be tough. And I think being grounded in Jesus helps navigate those things. When I'm going well, I'm reminded that I'm just using the gifts and talents that God has given me, and that, but for Jesus, I'm a sinner deserving of judgment. And when I'm going poorly, I cling to the fact that I'm a child of God primarily, and secondarily, I'm a barrister.
That's great. Well, thank you for sharing with us. I think we all need that reminder that we are here on earth to steward God's gifts as well. So, as Andrew was saying earlier, I think there are areas in our lives that we have, we seek reputation, we seek our pride and the power for, to pursue a career. So how do we identify areas in our lives where pride, the desire for reputation and fame, can creep up?
Yeah, I think it's hard because it's primarily an issue of the heart, as Andrew was talking about. So his diagnostic questions, I think, were really good. I guess some of the ways that I see it in myself, my own life, and I kind of go, oh dear, I'm getting a bit proud here. Sometimes when you meet new people, I can sort of have that inner bursting to tell them, oh, by the way, I'm a barrister. For some reason that gets received well. I don't know if it's because people love making that joke about barista and barrister, and how you must be good at coffee, and everyone makes that joke. I think there's something trendy, there's something that people like about the whole self-employment thing. So, it gets received well, and I can find that pride in myself going, I really want to tell them. In conversations with other people, is it sort of, am I more interested in them than I am in sharing my own work? And, I could talk for hours about my work, and if I put the other person first, I should shut up and listen to them. And I think, another way we can identify pride is whether we're willing to take responsibility for mistakes that we make. So we all make mistakes, and I can distinctly remember an occasion a few years ago, quite a few years ago now. I was working in a team. I was looking after one team, and this lady was the head of another team, and she sort of came down and she said, "Oh, look, I think you've made a mistake here." And I said, "Oh, I'll have a look into it." And I had a look into it, worked out that she'd made the mistake, and sort of pointed this out to her as gently as I could, and she marched off without saying a word. Yep. And if pride is getting a grip on us, then we're not going to be able to say, yep, I made that mistake, I'm sorry, I'll do my best to fix it. And I've found that when you actually do that in your work life, it's a pretty powerful witness.
Great, thank you. So here we have a whole range of workers. So we have, from young graduates to people who are a lot more experienced. So how would we keep our pride in check as we, progress through our career?
Yeah, I think it can be hard to do that, but one of the key ways or key sort of diagnostic measures that I'd use to keep your pride in check is look at how you're spending your money and why, how you're spending your time and why. So I've found I'm sort of about 10 years out now, which is in the context not all that long, but it's long enough to progress a bit, and I find that I value my time more and more. And so the question is, am I still spending time with my Christian community? Am I still going to church each week? Am I still part of a Bible study group? Am I still serving? And even at church, am I prepared to talk to the difficult or the awkward person, and not just the people that I perceive as being successful? So how am I valuing my time, I think, is one of those sort of key ways to try and keep your pride in check. And Christian community is key. Other people, bouncing up against other people who are different to you will help you keep your pride in check.
Great. So as you mentioned, you are a barrister, not a barista. So you are also self-employed. So you're hired by clients to represent them in court. So in a way, your job kind of requires you to make a name for yourself in order for people to know who you are. How would you manage the tension between flourishing in your career and making a name for yourself?
Yeah, I think it's particularly acute with barristers because we're self-employed. So that means if I don't get paid, I don't eat. And if I don't get paid unless I send out invoices, and I don't send out invoices unless I get briefs, they come from solicitors. Solicitors only brief you if they want to, if you've got a name, if they think you're competent. So yeah, I think it's acute for barristers and self-employed people, but I think it's true of any professional services people. And I think it's true of any workers. You know, our reputation, our own fame, glory can get the better of us. So I reckon maybe three sort of things I try and do to help sort of manage that tension between my own fame, glory. The first one is this, so practicing humility. So, you know, I try and at work do some of the things that, you know, just on the floor with other barristers, do some of the things that people don't want to do, like empty the dishwasher. You know, when someone sort of comes to talk with me, even if I'm in the middle of something, hopefully I'll sort of say to them, well, no worries, I'd like to talk to you about that. How about in half an hour? Rather than sort of fobbing them off, like I did to my wife on Tuesday night at home when she came to talk to me. Yeah, so I think practicing humility is a big thing. I think secondly, just the usual Christian disciplines, and by usual I don't mean to be derogatory in any sort of sense, but reading the Bible regularly, being at church and singing praise to God, you know, confession that Andrew talked about, spending time in prayer, they're all really helpful. I mean, I don't know how anyone can read, particularly the Old Testament, call ourselves a worshipper of Yahweh and still be proud. Like, you know, think of in Job, where were you when I laid the foundations of the earth? I mean, you just can't read through that, take it seriously and be proud. So one, practice humility. Two, usual Christian disciplines. Three, I try, wherever possible, to give the praise or the glory to God. So this is hard. I don't think I do it very well at all. But when things are going well, when there's success, I would want to say somehow that I'm using God's gifts, that I'm just being a good steward of what He's given to me, and that it's not my sort of magnificence bursting forth. So yeah, one, practice humility. Two, usual Christian disciplines. And three, try and give praise and glory to God. The irony is that in managing that balance, so in not seeking fame and glory for myself, it's actually good business practice. So it's really, you know, there's sort of barristers and there's barristers. There's barristers that are so damn good, so clever, so smart, that they can be as rude and obnoxious as they want, and solicitors will still want to brief them because they're so good. That's not me. I'm just not that clever. So it actually works for me to be a decent person, to be humble. It helps me get work. That's the irony of this.
Great. So how have you seen God use your professional reputation to glorify Him?
That's it. After just talking about humility, that's a hard question to sort of answer with a straight face. I would hope in ways. Sometimes you don't know until years later. I was talking with a solicitor the other day. We just had a case which it was a bad case, and we sort of, I could say we settled the case. In reality, we kind of lost it badly. We went out for a coffee afterwards, which was gracious of her, and we were having a chat, and she said to me that she and the solicitors at her firm really liked briefing me, of course, at which point my head sort of expanded such that I couldn't get out of the coffee place. But I sort of asked her why, and she said, well, we actually think you're humble. You don't sort of spend all this time telling us war stories about how good you are as a barrister. And I was like, oh, that's great. I think what I failed to do at that point was to then turn the glory to God. But hopefully in some way, she knows I'm a Christian, and hopefully in some way that God is using that and my reputation such as it is for His glory. So.